Yeah, thank you, Mr. Pratik. Uh, it's a good beginning that Dr. Balkar Singh has made things very clear as to what we require. You know, in a small, in a few words, he has set the roadmap as to how best we can. Now, to put things right, from my perspective, how energy conservation and energy efficiency plays important role. Now, there are two things which I see. Energy conservation is one part, and the energy efficiency is the other. Now, energy efficiency is you need to use energy, but only way is make it as efficient as possible. Now, if we have to go for decarbonization, the very fact that we talk about decarbonization, it means that we are not consuming or we are not emitting. Even if we are emitting, we are nullifying the emissions. So to set things right, what is more important is to look if we can avoid using electrical power or burning any fuels. Now, to set the discussions, I would like to show a typical example where I can establish that we can reduce energy consumption to the extent that I hope my slide is visible now.
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. Now, here I have just displayed one particular typical example of my own building. See, before we initiated, I had laid the whitewashing on top of the terrace. Now, before I laid, we did whitewashing. I had taken the thermal imaging analysis, and you can see the yellow strip that's here. I have encircled that. The maximum temperature that was recorded was 43.8 degrees centigrade on the terrace. And there are two spots. The one which is more bluish in color is the one which had been executed. Now you can see that it reads somewhere around 37.9 degrees centigrade. That is the temperature that was measured during peak times. You can see the time afternoon 1:32 p.m. we measured this, we took the reading. And subsequent to this, we executed complete whitewashing. You can see on the left side, the entire terrace has been whitewashed. And this is a thermal image on the left side again, leftmost part. Now on the right side, on the left side, you can see the maximum temperature that has been recorded is 37.3. That means I have literally reduced my terrace heating from 43 degrees to 37 degrees. That means my terrace heating has been reduced by 6 degrees centigrade. Now the net impact is that my internal surface, you can see on the right side, next to the light point, it is reading around 29 degrees centigrade. Now, what could have been the result if I had not whitewashed my terrace? There is a drastic reduction of 6 degrees centigrade, which indicates that if I can avoid using the energy to keep my building cool, then probably that would be the best option. Now, in absence of this whitewashing, I would have been forced to use the air conditioner. Now, since this terrace heating has been reduced, now with 29 degrees centigrade, that's the inner layer of the roof, I can manage only with a fan. So this, what I'm basically trying to put across here is, if I can conserve, then there is nothing like energy efficiency. Now you can see the total impact. When we don't have to use energy, obviously there is no need to talk about energy efficiency. So this is what actually we need to look. Of course, this is just a typical example I may try to show you. There are other ways where we can probably execute. It is not just the limit. No, why this is quite important? It is important that we understand that the urban areas consume almost around 70% of the total energy demand when we look at the national energy consumption for residential areas, residential and commercial areas. So if we can consider this aspect and avoid use of energy to the maximum extent, then the global warming potential has a better show. It is quite natural that whatever the 1.5 degrees centigrade that is being talked about is easily achievable if each one of us can consider these options and try and execute. Now the question is the financial aspect. Certainly, yes, it needs a lot of acceptance, because the ROI may not be as lucrative as the bankers demand. And at the same time, if we are living in a community environment, then the cooperation may also not be as favorable as it is required. So in overall, it is the mindset of one individual's. It is everybody's business to make sure that we live in a comfortable world. Now, this is quite significant because in this 70% of the energy that the urban structure consumes, 60 to 80% of the energy is again spent only on heating and cooling. So this is another quite important factor that we also need to consider. Now, if our energy consumption comes down, obviously the scope for use of renewable energy resources would be much higher. So once the renewable energy can be put to use, certainly the overall operating cycle would come down, would be favorable when you look at the financial aspects. So I hope I have made my point clear with respect to energy conservation and energy efficiency, and also the role of renewable energy. Of course, this is a big, huge cycle. We all need to look at it in a totally broader perspective and see where all we can conserve to make renewable energy more affordable and applicable. Thank you, Prateek.
Very rightly said, sir. I think in nowadays, urban cities are getting hotter day by day, and putting SRI paints and these kind of innovative technologies will really lead to minimizing the consumption of air conditioning energy, as well as those buildings which are not using air conditioners, they'll feel much better. And through passive architecture, and I think like indirect evaporative cooling, buildings can be cooled with much lower energy consumption. Thank you so much. So